Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing Contrail. Now, before we actually take a look at today's puzzle, I really am having like a deja vu moment. Now, in my mind, I believe I've solved this puzzle because if you remember at the tail end of December, I featured this phenomenal puzzle called A Winding Path. And if you haven't played it, I'll make sure there's a link in up here or a card that you can follow and make sure that you play it first because it's going to be highly relevant to what we're playing today. Now, I remember we had a discussion around that puzzle where I said, well, it's an introductory to this Sudoku Variant Rule from Arbitrary, and this is the easier version of the puzzle. There is a harder version of the puzzle, and I'm nearly dead certain I have created this thumbnail, although I couldn't find it. I'm nearly dead certain that I recorded it and played it, although I couldn't find that. And when I clicked on the puzzle, both on my desktop and my laptop, it just wasn't filled. It didn't even look like I attempted it. And when I look at it, I'm thinking, it looks familiar, but at the same time, I don't think I've solved it. So a long way of saying, if this is like a re-upload, hopefully somebody will point it out. Otherwise, hopefully this is just my brain playing up, and maybe I should see a doctor. Right, enough of the confusion. Let's take a look at the puzzle, which I'm absolutely certain will be phenomenal. We have Contrail by Arbitrary, and the following set of rules. So the usual rule sets are normal Sudoku rules apply, so that means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. No repeats in any of these. We have Kropki dots, really only white dots today with, I can see only these 4, where the digits separated by a dot have to be consecutive. So that if that's a 2, this would have to be 1 or 3. There's no mention of the fact that there is a negative constraint applying, so I'm going to assume there isn't. So if this was a 3, there's nothing wrong with having 2 or 4 adjacent to it. Doesn't require a white dot. Now, here is the bit that is the new variant. So consecutive sum lines, and maybe the reason I'm sort of thinking I've played this is, I'm going to say Gubler used it in one of the equality cages or shifter line puzzles, and that's why I think I've solved 2 of these puzzles, but I'm pretty sure I've only solved just the one. So the idea is that this is pretty similar to sum lines, in that this red line, which you can see is pretty much visiting every single box here in this Sudoku grid, as it leaves and enters a different puzzle, a different grid, it's not that the sums need to add up to the same number, it's that they have to be one apart. They have to be consecutive. So if these, for example, are 6 and 8, 14, then these 4 cells have to sum up to a number that is consecutive to 14. That could be 15, of course, or that could be 13. But it has to change. It can't be 14 again. So given this is the harder puzzle, if you haven't played it, make sure you do visit Winding Path, as I mentioned earlier, and do give this a go. Fingers crossed, I will do the puzzle justice. Link will be in the description down below for you to play along as usual. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So my memory from Winding Path is the way that I've basically, and here you go, this is exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for a consecutive sum line where there are 4 cells in one square, and then immediately it jumps to a single square in the next one. And the reason I'm sort of looking for that is, you know that the minimum in 4 cells will be 1, 2, 3, and 4, which adds up to 10. Now, in a single cell, the maximum can be a 9, and that's the only way this would work. This is forced. It has to be a 9 in here. It has to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 in here to get to 10. And we've got our first digit in the grid in under a minute. Now, remember, this could be 10 or 8. So really, I'm sort of looking for single cell digits that force direction and decision. So let's go through this theory here. Let's say it does go up. It's 11, then 10, then 9, then 8. So it does actually work. Now, the other alternative I'm also thinking about is to actually use even and odds. I'm going to use orange for odd, blue for even, almost opposite what I've done in the previous puzzle this weekend with oil and water, but, you know, it's okay. We'll keep it going. Did that work? 11, 10, 9, 8. So, yeah. So, odd, even, that can't be 11. That has to be 10 or 8. Right, that's why the colors were. So good thing I'm coloring, otherwise I would have confused myself immensely. These have to be blue. All of these have to be blue, so they have to sum up to even digits. That may be useful. Then we're at an odd digit, odd number I should say, even, odd, and notice because that's a 9, that is a maximum of 7. So that's actually quite useful to know. That's even, these are odd, even, and again, we're back to a minimum of 1, 2, 3, 4, so it may be worthwhile exploring. Yeah, that is forced. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That has to sum up to 9. That has to be 8. And again, this has to be a 7 because the 9 is already taken, so we're descending. And then, I don't know what this is, but essentially this is either going to a 6, and this is back up to a 7 with 1, 2, 4, for example. That's actually quite likely. Although I can go up to an 8, and these could add up to 9, so let's not dismiss it just yet. Right, that's 10. This is adding up to an odd number. This is an even number. And this is finally an odd number. 10, this is at least 11, probably exactly 11. Because I can't go back down to 9. So this is 1, 2, 3, 5. This is forced as well. Then we're back to something. Probably 10, and then again 11. It doesn't have to be 10. But this does have to be 11 because I need to be able to bridge it with something. Yes, because this has to be at least 11. And it has to be consecutive to this 10. I don't know if I'm going to keep up with the colors, but this is again forced with 1, 2, 3, 5, 4 cells to get to 11. There's no other way of doing it. And this is at least certainly helpful up here, where essentially we've got a quintuple of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can see that the 4 has to be in here. Otherwise, we're running out of digits, and the 5 has to be in here. Otherwise, again, we'd run out of digits. We'd have to use all of them. Not quite sort of triplets, quadruples, quintuples, but I'm sure this will be helpful. Right, so 10 going to an 8, this has to be 9. Now, 9 could be done using 1s, or the alternative would be 2, 3, 4. Now, if I go with 2, 3, 4, you can see that this would have to be a 1, because I knock out the 2 and 3. This would also have to be 1, because I knock out the 2, 3, and 4. Essentially, 4 digits in 5 cells breaks it. So there is absolutely a 1 in here, and a new set of digits that add up to 9. And I say a new set of digits. I think you always have to, because it's either going to be 1, 2, 6 or 1, 3, 5, or that's it, isn't it? 1, 2, 6 or 1, 3, 5. And no 1s in here. 1s are definitely now in one of these 2 cells, and then 1 is in here somewhere. Not enough still, really not enough. Almost again a quintuple in row 5, but not quite. Okay, so 11, 10, 9, we don't know what this is, we don't know what these are. This cell, well, clearly it's a maximum of 9. I'm guessing it's at least 7. I think 5 is probably too far, because essentially if it's 5, this would be 6, this would be 7, this would be 8. I mean, it's possible on this side. If that's 5, that would be 6. This would be 7. And again, it's possible on that side. So, but what isn't possible is a 3. I mean, there isn't anyway, because we've already got the 3 written out. But this is from 5, 7, or 9. Not enough info for sure. 8, I can see that there's an 8 in here. 1, 2, 3, or 5. So this is either a 4 or a 6. And I can say that with good confidence because it's got to be consecutive with 1, 2, 3, and 5. One of 1, 2, 3, and 5. But it's not 1, 2, 3, or 5. So the only options that are not in this quadruple of cells is 4 and 6. Now remember, this is either 8 or 10. So this could be 4, 6 with another 4, 6 to get to 10. The other possibility is that this is an 8 with a 6 and a 2. Obviously, I can't do double 4. But what I'm tempted to say is that there is definitely a 6 in here. No 6 in there. So it's either 4, 6 or 2, 6. Interesting. But yeah, that can still be the 4 and that could still be the 6. So it's not exactly forced. This could be either, as in it's adding up to 12 or adding up to 10. Not sure about this one. Right, I don't know why I didn't spot this earlier. That can't be a 5. Because these, if you remember, since they're heading off to larger digits, would have to add up to 6. Now, you can have two different solutions for a 6. One could be 1, 5. One of them could be 2, 4. But then what is this going to be? Well, you could make it a 4, as in 4 consecutive with 5, but that would still require a repeat of the 1. Now, I think we demonstrated that this is forced, that this has to be a 6. Because it's 5, 6, 7. Presumably it doesn't have to be. Yes, it does, because I can't make that a 5. Because this is a minimum of 7, that would be a minimum of 6. That's, again, back to 5. So that can't be a 5. This is 7 or 9. Okay. Not exactly helpful. So options include 1 with a 2, 4. If this is adding up to a 7, and the 1 has to be here because of all of these 1s. That was a mistake around that one, excuse me. With a 2, 4, that's one option. Is that really an option? Have I got too many? No, that works, because I could have 8 and 9 out here. The 6 would have to be here, but look at where the 5 is. Yeah, that doesn't work. Because essentially the 5 and 6 would have to be in here, plus a 1, because we've got a 2, 3, 4 triplet. So this doesn't add up to a 7, this adds up to an 8. Sorry, this adds up to a 9, it's the next odd digit. And using the same logic, it's not 2, 3, 4, because again, it will be a triplet. 2 and 3 will be gone. We'll be left with 1, 5, and 6, making that a 12 next to the 8. So this is a 1. These do add up to 9. And again, same kind of logic that was here. This is either a 2, 6 or a 3, 5. And now that does work. And these would be 8 and 9. And the way to think about this now, because I'm pretty sure I can force some options in here. Essentially, one of these has to have the 6 option, and this has to have the 5 option. You can't have both 5 and 6 in here. So this is not 2 or 3, therefore this is not 5 or 6. So the 5 and the 6 are in here. Then I have a 2, 3 pair, and I'm pretty sure this is now forcing a 4 in here. Because it's either 2, 6, and then because you've used the 2, this becomes a 3, or it's 3, 5, and therefore you've used the 3, and this becomes a 2, so this was always going to be a 4. That makes sense to me. And then the 8, 9 to basically complete the column. We've got to be able to make more progress in this. Now that this is 9, I guess that can actually be 10. So this is not necessarily helpful. But this is 9, that's got to be 8. That is helpful. And I know I don't have 1. And you can, and it's interesting, we've got essentially 2, 6, and 3, 5 as the remaining options. But essentially now we've got a quintuple again in here. So that may actually force a few things. You can see, for example, 7 and 9, this has to be a 7. Because 7 and 9, where are they in row 6? Well, one of them is in here. The second is not in anything that we've pencil marked so far. So the second one has to be here where it sees the 9. So that is 7. That's 9. Again, gives us a load of options here in blue, so not the most useful option. Now, no 6s means this is not the 2, 6 option. This is the 3, 5 option. The 3, 5 in here removes 3 and 5 as options there. I end up with 1, 2, and 6. That's a 3. These are not 3. That's a 1, 2 pair. That's another 3. Therefore, that is a 5. That's all working so far. That 3 is bouncing back up here. That's a 5. That's a 3. Lovely, lovely logic. That 1, 2 has to be up here. So essentially, this is 3, 5 with a definite 2. I will corner pencil mark the 3 so I don't forget that. And then I don't really need the 1, 2, 6 anymore. It's a phenomenal puzzle, but it's certainly making you work hard for it. So let's think about what do we have in here. Now, if this is 4, 6, that would create a 1, 2 pair. It does work. If this is 2, 6, that would be 1, that would be 4. Still works. I was kind of hoping this will start to break down a bit, but it hasn't yet. We've got an 8 with a 2 or 4. Not 2. Why did I have 2 in here? 6 and 2. Sleuth, come on. Come on. Right, excuse me. That's a 4, 6 pair. That's not a 4. That's a 1, 2. And these are 8, 9. Okay. Again, doesn't help me in figuring out which one of these is the 4 and 6. So, progress, but not enough still. 5. Can the 5 be here? Yes, with a 6 there. So, no. Not forcing anything. I mean, one of these is a 5. Let's just leave that for now. So, if this is 10 and this is 11, that can still come back down to 10. So this is not even forced to be a 9. And because these are 9, this could be 10 or 8. This is quite a tough puzzle. Yeah, we've got the 8, 9s. This is from 6, 7, 5, 6, and 7. It's not exactly helping us with anything, really. So I don't know, like, I mean, so the fact that, for example, I missed that this was not a 2 for quite some time, I'm just going to double check that I haven't made any other silly mistakes such as that around here. Then maybe I've got to think about these white Kropki dots, but I'm a little bit worried that I'm like nowhere near them, like just nowhere near them. So I don't know how useful that is. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 8 and 9. This is from 6 and 7. Eight's not here. 8's also not here because this can't be 9 or 7 in the column. So 8 is almost confined to here. What happens if I do put 8 in there? Remember, this is a 10. I can have an 11 with 1, 2, and 8. Then that would force 1 and 2 in there. Presumably that would be the 2, that would be the 1, that would be the 3. Is that really possible? Can't quite see it. And then 1, 2, 2, 1. This would be a 1, 2, 1, 1. Yeah, that's so far not broken. It is possible. Right. I feel like I'm taking bites off of puzzles that are maybe just a little bit outside of my league. Just a touch. The fact that this is 4 or 6, clearly this cannot be 1 or 2, it's 3 or 5. It's not exactly the breakthrough I'm looking for. You see, the challenge is this one in the middle can basically be anything. It doesn't have any restrictions. So, and before I forget, let me remove the 8. But in essence, there is an 8 potentially in one of these 4 cells. And the hope is I can actually break it, figure out which one it is. I can see that there is a 9 up there. I think what we're going to have to do next is really test what is possible and try and pin down what these are. So the thinking that I started down the 8 is not a bad one, in the sense that can this be an 11 and then back down to 10? So if we think about these, there are 3 different ways of making 8s. So all of these could add up to 8. I could do, well, not really. 1 and 7 means that 1, 7 as a solution is not available. And in fact, 3, 5 is also not available. So really, at most, one of these can add up to an 8, which would be the 2, 6. So that's helpful. One of these could be an 8. But at least 2 of them, and potentially all of them, add up to 10. Now let's see if I can make this 3 10s, or do I actually have to have a 2 6? This can't be the way forward, not for a 2-star rated puzzle. So I'm almost certainly missing some logic there that would help me make progress that for one reason or another I'm not seeing. Well, I'm going to just explore this and then try again elsewhere in the puzzle, somewhere else in the grid. So if all of these are 10, what that means is that there will be essentially a 5 and another set that adds up to 10 in here. Now 9 is in none of these. There you go. Oh, no. Essentially what I was thinking is I can't use 1 and 9 in here, because essentially it would mean that one of these is a 9, just Sudoku, and then for it to add up to a 10, it would have to be up there. But it just means that 1 and 9 is not one of the ones that we're using. So essentially I could have 1, 5, and 9 down here, and I could still probably use all of the rest. You know, I could still have 2, 8, 3, 7, and 4, 6, and still not be forced to use an 8 in here at all. So yeah, this is not helping. Although if I do use this, that would make this an 8. There will be no 8. This would be 11. This would have to be a 10. So it's almost like worthwhile asking the question is, if this is 2, 6, what breaks? If this is the one that adds up to 8, this means that this is restricted to a 9. And then the options include 2, 3, 4. I mean, looks very plausible. The 3 would essentially be up here. Then the 2, 4 would be down there. We would force a 2 in here with a 3. And therefore this couldn't be the 2. This would make this the 3. And then this couldn't be the 2. This would make this the 4. That would make this the 2. This would make this the 4. And this would be 2. So that, unfortunately, works. And that would be 1, 2, and that would be 2. So far, works. That would be 6. That would have to be a 5. And this is not 2 or 3 or 5. It would have to be a 1. This is getting dangerously close to bifurcation. So a long way of saying 2, 3, 4 works. And obviously I haven't even tested having a 1, which would be down here, with, well, it wouldn't be 3, 5 because we've got a 3, 5 down there. It would be 2, 6. So it would be 2, 6 as follows. Now, how does that look? Essentially, I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks okay. So I didn't actually sort of test if it breaks up there. It doesn't, it really doesn't matter. Well, it does. That can't be the 2, 6 because I've got 1, 2 pair that for some reason I ignored for so long. So this is not 1 or 2. This is not 1 or 2 either. This is a lot more interesting now, because that's actually quite restricted. Now, if it is, so we demonstrated that it can't be 2, 6, but in essence, it needs to add up to 10 if it's not adding up to an 8. And you can see 1 and 2 are not available. Essentially, it's a 3 with a 7 or a 4 with a 6, forcing this to be a 5. Wow. And if it's 3, 7, it will be in this order. And if it's 4, 6, it'll be, well, in every order at once. So that's definitely a 10. Then we need 8 and 9 again. And they're not in this cell. So this is an 8, 9 pair. This is not an 8. The 8 is now inside here, forcing this to be 1, 2, 8. Forcing these to be 1, 2, because we've got the 1, 2 essentially lining up in columns 2 and 3 between boxes 4 and 7. That has to be the 2, otherwise we'll break this. So that's the 2, that's the 3, that's the 1, that's the 1, that's the 1, that's the 2. That's lovely progress, finally. Not 2, 1, 3, 4. Okay. No 3s, that makes this a 5. Not 3 or 5. Not 5. One of these is a 3. Essentially, we have 1, 2, and a 1, 2, 8 triplet. That's not an 8. And then we've got a 1, 2, 3 triplet again. One of these is an 8. Therefore, 8 is up here. Haven't thought about this too much just yet, but we'll come back to it. This is starting to feel probably fairly restricted. So if we think about it, we've got 1, 2, 3, 5 all in here. Now, realistically, this could still be a 4. Yeah. So it is restricted, just not that restricted. Let's just think about options, because it feels like it's... So 3 is here. 5 presumably is there as well. Yep, 5 is on this side. It's a 3, 5 pair. Just no 5s in the column. 3, 5 in here. That's a 3, 5 pair. this is starting to get very restricted. You can see that now that the 4 cannot be in this group because the 3 and the 5, the two adjacent digits for the white Kropki dot, are not available. So that is a 4. That's a 6. That's a 4. That 6 up here gives me a 7. Sort of helpful. And now this is 6, 7. And that 7 gives me an order. That's the 7. That's the 6. Just wow. I don't know if I'm going around it doing the hardest possible route as is traditional for me, but this is a phenomenal puzzle. It requires a lot of thinking. Just this column, we've got an 8-9 pair, a 3-4 pair. Just to complete it, this is from 6 or 7. 5 is in one of these two cells. 5 is now in here. It's in one of these two cells. Now, if remember, for the 8, the only option was 2 and 6. And 5 obviously never belongs on the 10, so that's a 5. Whew. 5 gives me a 3, gives me a 5. This is not a 1. This is 2 or 8. We should probably start thinking about a bit of Sudoku at this point. 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8. I am missing a 9. Could I have a 9 anywhere on these? And I think the answer was no, because 9 would be restricted to one of these two cells. Just again, Sudoku. And remember, it can't use a 9 to add up to an 8. It would have to add up with a 1. The only one that's available is 9 with a 1. So 9 has to be down here. Therefore, this is an 8. And I need a 9 in row 8. That has to be the 9. Have I got anything else? Yep, that's a 6. Puts a 6 up here to join the 5. That 8 gives me a 9 up there. But I can write in a couple of digits in here, or pencil mark a couple of digits. That will make life a lot easier. That 2, that 4. I should be, well, that's now a 9. And I should be able to write this digit in. It's a 1. Now, if you remember, I said if this is 159, that would allow me to have 3 10s. And it's unfortunately 159. So it doesn't help me in figuring out whether there is a 2 and 6 on here somewhere. Now, if there is a 2, 6, that would be the 6, the 2. That still works. What else can we get out of here? What can we squeeze out of this? So let's think about it. If I use 2 and 6, do I have enough remaining numbers that would allow me to get to 10? And I think the answer will be no, because I'd need 2 10s and an 8. So 2 and 6, let's just assume it's here. That would force this to be 7, 3, because the 6 is gone. And now I'm left with 4 and 8. So they all add up to 10. I've not used 2 and 8 in this side because of the 2, or this side because of the 8. This is 2 and 8, which gives me a 3 up here, a 2. This is not 3. This is a 3. That is a 4. That is a 6. This is 3, 7, and we know the order. That's 3. That's 7. That's a 2, 8 pair. And this is a 1, 2, 8 triplet. We know what these two cells are, or at least we can pencil mark them. I've got a 3, no. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 6 and 7, I'm going to say. And I don't actually know where they go. So how am I going to break up this setup? I'm guessing from this 1, 2, 3 maybe. It seems like I need to figure out one of these. That's not a 3, for example. That is a 3. So once I figure out this cell, that would help me. That would give me the rest. Okay, so still solvable. I haven't broken it yet. That's 2, 6. This is 6, 7. This is just 7. And this is just 8. That's not 8. This is 5, 6 now. And then to complete this, I need 4 and 9. And this 9 gives me an order. That's a 4, that's a 9. I haven't actually thought about what this is. I'm not sure I really need to at this point. We've covered so much of the grid in the last 30 minutes. Time flies by, huh? That I'm not sure we need to necessarily think about it. So what am I missing? I am missing a 9, which can only be in here. And I'm missing, I'm going to say a 6. Yep, 7, 6. This was adding up to 12 or 10. Well, it's not adding up to 12. It is adding up to a 10. That's a 4. I can write in the 5 in here. I need 8 with a 4. That 4, no, 8 with a 5. That's the 5. That's the 8. Very nearly at the finish line now. So this is from 6, 7, and 8. So that means there's definitely a 7. That's the 7. This is 6 or 8. That's the 6. That's the 8. I need 7 and 9. That's the 7. That's the 9. 8, 9. I need 4, which I don't know where it goes, and something else. 8. That's the 8. Hopefully this will unlock everything. I think it does with the 1, the 2, the 1, 2, no 2s. That's the 1, that's the 8. That's the 2, that's the 8. 4. You've got, yep, 6, 2, 5. And if I've not made any mistakes, 6 for the solve for today. What a absolutely phenomenal puzzle, Arbitrary. And I just want to say thank you for, I guess, introducing us with the easier variant with a winding path. Otherwise, I don't know, this feels... What's the right word I'm looking for it? Underserved is probably the right language here. With only 58 solves, it is certainly far more deserving, and I'm glad to have featured it. I hope that you guys enjoy it. It was an absolutely stunning puzzle. And my solve wasn't too bad, so hopefully you enjoyed the video as well. And I'll see you back for the next one. Bye-bye for now.